If you ever want to understand how someone grew up, ask them what they brought to lunch in high school. Me? I brought peanut butter sandwiches in sandwich bags that had already been reused twice. And if it was Friday? A thermos with leftover spaghetti. No fancy bento boxes. No quinoa salads in glass jars. Just carbs and crumbs in a wrinkled napkin with a smiley face drawn by Mom when she remembered. My name's Travis King. I was not the cool kid in high school. Not even close. I was the kid who wore the same hoodie 3 days a week and pretended I liked it that way. The one who sat in the back of class because I didn't want people asking me why I didn't go to prom. Or why my shoes had duct tape on them for a solid month junior year. I grew up in Pecan Ridge, a small town where people still wave when they pass you, even if they talk behind your back the moment you're gone. My dad was a mechanic until a back injury sidelined him permanently, and my mom worked double shifts at the diner just to keep the lights on. College was never part of the plan. Honestly, surviving the month was the plan most of the time. So while half my graduating class was picking dorm decor and posting their acceptance letters on Instagram, I was Googling plumbing apprenticeships near me and borrowing steel-toed boots from my cousin Clay. And I'll be real, it stung. The day of graduation, I heard whispers. Wait, Travis isn't going to college? I think he's doing, like, trade stuff? Oh, like pipes and sinks? Like I'd chosen to be less than. Like college was the finish line and I hadn't even started the race. But I kept my head down. Got certified. Worked under a guy named Roy who taught me everything he knew about pipes, pressure, and how to handle customers who thought they knew more than you just because they had an HOA membership. And while everyone else was chasing internships and unpaid opportunities, I was making $22 an hour, then $30, then $40. I fixed leaking basements, unclogged restaurant grease traps, replaced water heaters, and eventually started hiring people to do it for me. But here's the thing no one tells you, even when you make it, that teenage voice still lives in your head. The one that says they all thought you'd fail. They laughed when you said trade school. They called you tool guy in the yearbook. So when I got the invite to our 10-year high school reunion, I wasn't sure if I should even go. It came in a little cream-colored envelope with gold foil lettering and a fancy RSVP link at the bottom. Join us for an evening of cocktails, laughter, and reconnection. At the bottom. Hosted at the Oakwood Golf Club. Of course. Fancy. I tossed the invite on the table. Let it sit there for 3 weeks. Honestly, I was leaning toward tossing it altogether until I got a text from my old buddy James. Yo, you going to the reunion? Heard Claire and Brooke will be there. Claire. My high school crush. And Brooke, the one who once asked, You're in tech school? Like computers or like toilets? Yeah. That Brooke. I took a sip of coffee, stared out the window at the custom van parked in front of my shop, navy blue, clean as a whistle, wrapped with my company's logo. King Plumbing Company, we handle the pressure. And right then, something in me clicked. I wasn't going to the reunion to prove anything. But I also wasn't going to show up like the same duct-taped kid from junior year. I was going to show up as the guy who owned a growing business, employed 5 full-time plumbers, and sponsored the very reunion that once didn't think he was worth remembering. I logged into the RSVP site and clicked yes. Then I emailed the reunion committee and added one more line. King Plumbing Company would be honored to sponsor the slideshow. I'll cover the A/V rental too. If they were going to look at me, then by God, they were going to see me. I didn't RSVP right away. The card sat on my kitchen table for a full week, next to a half-eaten bag of pretzels and an unopened Home Depot flyer. Every time I walked by, it glared at me like it knew my hesitation. Not because I wasn't curious, but because part of me still felt like the guy in the back row. The guy who showed up to school in steel-toed boots on college shirt day. The guy who was laughed at when he said, I'm going into plumbing, while someone else shouted, Hey, can you fix my sink after graduation? But I'd be lying if I said I didn't wonder what it'd feel like to show up now, 10 years later, not with a flex, but with quiet certainty. I owned a company now. 5 vans. 7 employees. Full benefits, retirement match, clean books. Not bad for the guy whose senior quote was literally, I'd rather be covered in grease than in student loans. Jo noticed the invitation the day she dropped by to go over invoices. You going to this? She asked, waving it like it was a coupon for bad decisions. I shrugged. I don't know. Seems pointless. She raised an eyebrow. You own a business. You employ people. You're booked 6 weeks out, and your Yelp page has more stars than a Netflix show. That card's not an invitation. It's a chance. A chance for what? To stop acting like you're still in 12th grade every time someone mentions college. She wasn't wrong. So, a few nights later, I clicked the RSVP link. Yes. Then I picked out something to wear that didn't say revenge outfit, but definitely whispered, I know what a Roth IRA is and I don't need to impress you. On the night of the reunion, I pulled into the Oakwood Golf Club parking lot about 10 minutes late, not to make an entrance, just enough time to not look desperate. The place was glowing with warm string lights and, you made it, banners. A little ironic, considering half the people inside wouldn't have said that about me a decade ago. Inside, I was hit with a wave of catered chicken, fake laughs, and a room full of people who all somehow looked exactly the same, and completely different. The first person I recognized was Marcus Langston, former quarterback and still owner of that smug chin tilt he always did when he walked down hallways like a Nike ad. Yo! Travis King? He called out, genuinely surprised. Man, it's been forever. Yeah, since home EC. You still owe me a sewing needle. I joked. He chuckled and offered a firm handshake. What are you doing these days? I paused. I run a business. Oh yeah? What kind? Plumbing. There was a short beat, not insulting, not even dismissive, but just enough of a delay to remind me that plumbing still isn't a word people associate with success. Then he nodded. Hey, honest work. Can't go wrong there. I smiled. Pays better than you'd think. We chatted a bit longer, and to be fair, Marcus was nice. Polite, even. But he wasn't the one I was bracing for. That would be Claire, my former lab partner/crush, who once said, You're really smart, Travis. Just not like college smart. She always meant well. But some cuts come dressed in compliments. I spotted her across the room. Still beautiful. Still perfectly put together. Still moving like she owned the room and rented out the confidence. She was standing by the bar with a flute of something sparkly when our eyes met. And here came the moment. Travis? Is that you? She asked, walking over like a scene in slow motion. Hey, Claire. Oh my God, you look. She tilted her head, trying to find the right word. Grown. I laughed. I'll take it. She glanced at my outfit, then back at my face like she was doing an internal scan. So, what's life like? What did you end up doing? She asked. Plumbing, I said. Own a company here in town. Oh wow. That's awesome. She said, adding a quick nod like she had to convince herself it was a good answer. Good for you. Seriously. People always need water and stuff. I let her have that. Didn't correct her. Didn't show my numbers. Didn't offer her one of my shiny new business cards with the QR code. She wasn't being mean, just conditioned. Conditioned to think certain jobs meant success, and others meant settling. It was fine. Because later, she'd learn. The first awkward conversation was fine. The second? Comedy. So you're still in town? Asked Lindsay Baxter, who once claimed I smelled like soldering iron. She was sipping rose and wearing a name tag like we wouldn't recognize her voice from sophomore choir. Yep, I said. Built my business here. Her brows rose. Oh? Like a store? Plumbing. King Plumbing. Oh. Toilets and stuff. I nodded. And pipes. Heaters. Septic. All the glamorous stuff. She laughed like I told a joke. I hadn't. But you must have a side hustle or something, right? I restore vintage faucets for fun. I deadpanned. She smiled like that was normal, then wandered off to go hug someone who once egged my locker. I made my way to the drinks table. James was already there, double-fisting ginger ale. How's the crowd? He asked. 2 jokes about toilets, One so you're like a handyman, and one mention of mildew. So we're doing great. He snorted. These people still think success means a podcast or a consulting gig. Yeah. Apparently health insurance and profit margins don't count. Just then, the mic screeched, and Marcus Langston, former quarterback, current walking LinkedIn post, stepped up to give a rah-rah speech about how far we've all come. Then I heard it. Oh my God! Travis freaking King. I turned. Brooke Sanderson. Full sparkle blouse, perfectly styled hair, voice like she was narrating a perfume ad. Still had that look like the room revolved around her filtered presence. Didn't recognize you, she said, going in for a hug. You look good. Not like cafeteria Travis. Clean water does wonders. She laughed too loud. So, what's the deal? What are you up to? Don't tell me you're still doing trade stuff? Plumbing, I said. Run my own company. There was a flicker in her eyes. Just a beat too long before the next smile. Love that. Salt of the earth. Seriously. Plenty of salt. Sometimes actual earth. She sipped her drink. Hey, at least you're not one of those guys still finding themselves on a yoga retreat. Stability's rare these days. That was her version of a compliment. I took it. You still doing candle branding? I asked, trying to remember the last LinkedIn update I skimmed. Oh no. I'm in narrative consulting now. Image elevation, content cohesion, that sort of thing. That sounds intentionally vague. It is, she grinned. But it pays. Fair enough. She glanced toward the stage. Anyway, I'm hosting the slideshow later, so don't leave early. Wouldn't dream of it. She smiled and disappeared into the crowd like a glitter tornado. James leaned in. You handled that well. She used to say my vibe was vocational. Whatever that means. We moved over to the photo wall, senior quotes, prom snapshots, club photos. There I was, mid-blink, hoodie up, buzz cut looking like I trimmed it with a weed whacker. Claire had written on the frame in glitter pen. You'll do great things, just maybe not academic things. Even the compliments had a punchline. The DJs spun some awful throwback track, and someone tried starting a group dance. Brooke called for a toast like she was christening a yacht. Prosecco in one hand, self-importance in the other. And I just stood there, smiling politely, sipping soda, watching them all perform like high school never ended. Because they still didn't get it. Still thought plumber meant I'd plateaued at 19. Didn't know I had commercial contracts. A booked-out calendar. 2 vans wrapped in branding I designed myself. But I wasn't going to tell them that. Because soon, they were going to see it for themselves. The food was just okay. Rubbery chicken, a mysterious pasta salad, and the kind of brownies that taste like they forgot the sugar but doubled the guilt. Still, I piled up my plate like I had something to prove. There's something deeply primal about showing your old classmates you're not surviving on ramen anymore. I sat near James, across from a few people I vaguely remembered from art class and gym detention. Everyone did the polite shuffle. What are you up to? You look great. Didn't you used to date Melissa? That kind of time travel small talk. One guy, Trevor, leaned over mid-bite and asked, So, you actually enjoy plumbing? I swallowed slowly. Yeah, I said. It's satisfying. Problems with clear solutions. And at the end of the day, people are grateful you showed up. He blinked like I just explained quantum physics. No offense, he added, but I just couldn't picture, like, waking up excited to fix toilets. I smiled. Me either. That's why I don't fix them anymore. That shut him up. James grinned behind his water glass. Brooke took the mic again, the human glitter ball in full sparkle mode. All right, everyone, time to dim the lights and take a walk down memory lane. A few woo-s, mostly from people already 2 drinks in. Someone shouted, Let's go Badgers! And immediately regretted it. Then the projector clicked on. We were about to start the slideshow. I suddenly felt warm. Not nervous. Not afraid. Just a little like I was on a roller coaster that had just passed the click 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 part and was about to drop. Class of 2015, back then and now. The opening slide read, in Comic Sans. Classic. It started off innocent enough. Middle school photos. Baby pictures. Awkward yearbook quotes. Catch flights, not feelings. Aged like milk. Then came the "Where are they now?" section. Claire, pediatric nurse. Married with twins. Great. Marcus, runs a gym franchise. Has a podcast. Of course. Brooke, founder of a personal branding agency. With a headshot that looked like it had been retouched into another dimension. Every slide came with a ripple of laughter, gasps, or polite applause. They all had that same vibe, polished, expected, safe. But I wasn't up there. Not yet. I leaned toward James. Did I miss something? Pretty sure they've cycled through everyone who ever showed up to detention. He shook his head. Nah. They're saving you. How would you know? He smirked. Because I saw Brooke's face when she read the sponsor list. I turned back toward the screen, trying not to think too hard. Trying not to build up a moment that might not even come. Then came the last section. Thank you to our sponsors. A slide popped up that read, Made possible by, with the reunion committee logo. And then it faded into black. I waited. But instead of my company name, instead of anything, the next slide was a group photo from prom. No mention of King Plumbing. No. Special thanks. Just glitter transitions and faded slow jams. Brooke kept talking. And of course, big love to our amazing community of alums and local businesses who helped support tonight's event. You know who you are. I blinked. James blinked. Wait, was that it? I whispered. That's all she said, he confirmed. I felt something rise in my chest. Not anger. Not even embarrassment. Just that old, familiar feeling. Being forgotten. Again. No one else noticed. They clapped, moved on, returned to their wine and old jokes. But I noticed. I'd written the check. Paid the invoice. Sent the logo files. Followed the specs. No mistake. They didn't forget. They just didn't include it. And Brooke? She knew exactly what she'd done. I stared at the screen, still blank from the last photo. They moved on. The music resumed. Conversations bubbled back to life like nothing had happened. No one even blinked, except me. I sat there, pretending to sip from a cup I'd already emptied, while a small, familiar knot twisted in my stomach. Not rage. Not shock. Just the sour weight of being deliberately unseen. Again. James leaned over. That was intentional. Yep. No mistake. Not even close. I ran through the checklist in my head. I'd sent the high-res file. Twice. Confirmed placement with the committee. Even paid the $1,200 sponsorship fee that covered the projector rental, slideshow design, and the oh-so-gourmet dry chicken. It wasn't forgotten. It was erased. Brooke had smiled at me. Asked what I did. Pretended to care. And then slid the knife in with that perfect blend of glitter and poison. It was textbook, polite sabotage, reunion edition. James put a hand on my shoulder. You good? Oh, I'm great, I said. Just deciding how petty I want to be. He smirked. Scale of 1 to 10? Somewhere between quiet email and renting a billboard. The next hour passed like molasses. People mingled, chairs scraped, someone tried to start karaoke. I nodded politely through 3 more conversations about hustle culture and how AI was going to take everyone's job. All the while, Brooke floated from table to table like she was running for prom queen again, and winning. Until the mic squealed again. All right, everyone, Brooke chirped. Quick note before we wrap up. A few of our local businesses brought swag for the giveaway table in the back. Don't forget to grab a bag on your way out. Swag table? I hadn't authorized any swag. James gave me a look. You bring anything? He asked. Nope. Then who? I stood up and walked toward the back table. There it was. A small pile of tote bags, cheap ones. Thin canvas. A little off-white. On the side, in black ink. Support local, sponsored by Oakwood alumni. No logo. No company name. No King Plumbing. No nothing. The irony was choking. I could have walked out right there. Could have sent a terse email in the morning, requested a refund, maybe even called the venue. But something in me shifted. Not into fury. Into clarity. Because the truth was, I didn't want a refund. I didn't want an apology. I wanted them to see me. Not because I needed validation, but because I'd earned the moment. So I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small stack of clean, matte black business cards. Minimalist. Sharp. Just the logo, my name, and the line. Proud owner, King Plumbing Company. I slid one into each swag bag, silent and surgical. Then I walked to the exit, past the welcome board, the fake flowers, the giant "Thanks for coming" balloon arch. And just before I pushed the door open, I turned around. Brooke was near the stage, chatting with Claire and a few others. She saw me leaving and gave a little wave, like we were casual friends parting ways. I smiled back. Not big. Just enough. Because I knew something she didn't. The Monday after the reunion, the school would email out the digital recap slideshow. The one I'd also sponsored. The one I controlled. And this time? They'd see the logo. Front and center. The school's email hit inboxes the following Wednesday morning. Subject line. Class of 2015, thank you for an incredible reunion. The email was cheerful, bloated with emojis, and full of words like cherished and memorable. At the bottom, there was a bright red button that said, View full digital slideshow camera with flash. I clicked it. And smiled. Right there, before any baby photos, before the prom pics or football wins, the very first slide. Made possible by our presenting sponsor. Then, full screen. King Plumbing CO. We handled the pressure. Founded by Travis King, class of 2015. High-res. Centered. Crisp black and navy. Exactly how I designed it. Exactly how they'd ignored it the first time. Below that, in clean serif font. A decade later, still cleaning up messes. Thanks for the memories, Badgers. Travis. I didn't add the smiley face. Didn't need to. The messages started rolling in that afternoon. First from Marcus. Bro. That was your company? That plumbing logo looked like a tech startup. You running franchises now? Then Claire. Hey. I just saw the digital slideshow. Love your quote. Didn't realize you owned King Plumbing, that's huge. And then, finally, Brooke. A DM on Instagram. No emojis this time. Just, hey, didn't realize you were our slideshow sponsor. So sorry about the mix-up on Saturday. Things were hectic. Hope there are no hard feelings, smiley face. I let it sit. 12 hours later, she followed up with, also, small world, I've got a client looking for a plumber for a commercial renovation. Should I pass them your info? And I replied politely. Appreciate it, but we're currently booked solid. Wish them the best though. No sarcasm. No revenge line. Just truth. We were booked. 2 commercial jobs. A school district contract. And a 6-month waitlist. James called me that night. She reached out, didn't she? Oh yeah? What did she say? She's trying to pass me leads now. He laughed so hard he choked on his dinner. You're an icon, bro. A plumbing sponsor icon. The next day, I went into work like usual. Joe had printed out the slideshow's opening slide and taped it to the office fridge. Underneath she'd scribbled, This aged better than Claire's glitter pen. But what hit hardest? That evening, we got a new customer request through the website. New client. Residential. Oakwood zip code. Message read, Saw your company name during the reunion slideshow. Great branding. I remember Travis from school. Excited to support a local success story. Turns out, sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served in full resolution, with your name spelled correctly, and your business front and center, right where it should have been all along. By the weekend, I was getting more texts from people I hadn't heard from in years than I did on my birthday. Half of them were just, Dude, that logo drop. Wait, you own King Plumbing? Can you look at my water heater? Turns out, nothing gets people's attention like subtle credibility, especially when they'd already written you off. But the part that surprised me? My dad. Now, my parents weren't cruel or distant. Just indifferent. They were tired. They worked hard. They didn't know how to process success that didn't come with a diploma. When I got certified, Dad shook my hand like I'd passed emissions. When I opened my company, he said, "Just don't go into debt." And when I hired my first employee, he just said, "Make sure they're not a thief." So imagine my shock when he called out of the blue, 2 days after the digital slideshow went out. "Hey, Trav." "Hey, Dad. You do that reunion slideshow?" "Yeah. That was sharp. Real professional. Website looks good too." There was a pause. Then, "Your mom cried when she saw it." I froze. "Really?" "Yeah. Said she always knew you'd figure it out. That was the closest thing to 'I'm proud of you' I'd ever get, and weirdly it was enough." A week later, I was at the hardware store loading copper fittings into the back of the van when I heard a voice say, "Travis?" I turned. Brooke. Wearing yoga pants, oversized sunglasses, and holding a compostable coffee cup like it was a designer purse. She smiled like she hadn't ghosted my logo at the reunion. "Small world," she said. "Town's not that big." She laughed. "How've you been?" "Busy." Another smile. "So, the slideshow looked amazing. Everyone's been talking about it." I nodded. Glad it got noticed. She hesitated. "Listen. I owe you an apology. About the live event. That wasn't my call. It was the committee. They said they didn't want too many commercial interruptions. I thought your logo was going to be in there." I didn't respond. Mostly because it wasn't worth arguing. But partly because her voice cracked on the word commercial. And I caught the truth in that pause. They didn't think plumbing belonged next to pediatricians and podcast hosts. They didn't think I belonged. Until I showed up in 1080p with a clean logo and a waitlist. She glanced at my van, which was parked near the entrance. Gleaming. Logo freshly detailed. QR code on the rear. Then she said it. "You know, if you're ever looking for help with marketing or social stuff, I do offer business packages." I raised an eyebrow. "You offering to brand my brand?" "Well, I mean, not like rebrand. Just enhance what's already working." I held her gaze for a beat. Then smiled. "I think we're handling the pressure just fine." Then I got in the van and drove off, the automatic door closing with a satisfying hiss. She didn't chase. Just stood there, blinking behind her designer lenses. I wasn't being rude. I wasn't being smug. I was just done playing small. The following month, I was at a backyard install in Westfield, new line trenching, pressure check the works, when a delivery guy showed up with a small package addressed to Travis King, owner, King Plumbing Company. I wasn't expecting anything. Inside was a navy blue picture frame, clean and simple. In it, a high-resolution print of the digital slideshow's opening slide. Made possible by our presenting sponsor, King Plumbing Co. Tucked in the corner of the frame was a tiny note, typed, "No signature." People always notice. Eventually. Joe swears it wasn't her. I think it was James. I put it up on the wall in the shop break room, next to our license, our crew photo, and a giant laminated quote from Roy, my old mentor. "Fix the leak. Don't leak the fix." We laughed every time a newbie tried to figure out what that meant. Business kept growing. We took on another apprentice. Launched a referral program. Started offering emergency service packages. My guys teased me about becoming corporate. Joe joked I'd be on Shark Tank next, pitching industrial drain snakes. And yet none of it really changed me. Not in the way they all assumed it would. Because I didn't care about showing off. I didn't need to convert skeptics. All I ever wanted was to prove, mostly to myself, that I could build something. From nothing. With my name on it. And a logo they couldn't ignore. That summer, Claire booked us to do a full bathroom reno at her house. She didn't recognize me at first on the consultation call. Not until I showed up with the blueprint folder and introduced myself. Oh, she'd said, eyes wide. You're Travis. Still am, I said. She laughed softly. Guess I was wrong. You were definitely college smart. Just not the kind they print brochures for. I didn't need to reply. She already knew. I left that job with a check in hand, a 5-star review, and an unopened bottle of wine she insisted I take. Funny how things circle back. The reunion didn't make me successful. It didn't validate my work. It just reminded me of who I used to be, and how far I'd come. And honestly, I'm glad they left me off that first slideshow. Because if they hadn't, I might have never dropped the mic properly.